So you bring the colours of fall and bring leaves and other detritus into your home for decoration, is it? I myself am not particularly fond of the heat, my dear, but I still think that you're going to sweat through that sweater of yours. Oh, at least don't give it a laugh. It wasn't intentional. So, besides this, what else did you say that you do during this time of the year? Pumpkins, yes. Allowing them to rot in your home as you carve faces into them and set them ablaze. I suppose you're right. A candle or two hardly constitutes as a blaze, but you get my point. You like to stay inside and watch films, cozy up in front of fires, ingest ridiculous amounts of hot beverages. It's all so warm and fuzzy, isn't it? Well, there was a time, longer ago than you, or probably any of your ancestors that you can trace, when humans actually worshipped the Aesir by throwing festivals and having sacrifices. They were celebrated at Hof, which were glorious temples dedicated to the Aesir and their glory. Not all. The Alpha Blot was celebrated at the home, mostly by the lady of the household, surprisingly or not. A sacrifice would be made towards the end of autumn, when the crops had been harvested and the animals were most fat. It was associated with my mother, Frigga, of all people. Oh no, it's completely fitting. Just like it's fitting that the master of the house was called Olvir when administering the rites. An implication of Odin, and the first element of Olvir, which you may or may not know means beer, was an important element in the sacrifices and festivals, really. No surprise there either. Most of the Aesir and their worshippers would drown themselves any chance they got. The sacrifices weren't terrible, but mostly boring and unimaginative, unfortunately, which is why I liked to liven things up every once in a while. Humans really haven't changed all that much, even after all this time. I apologize. I realize this turned into ridicule quite quickly. If you weren't aware or had not noticed, festivals, even for the Aesir, were family events, and I'm not entirely fond of my family, even if it is better than it used to be. There is one. Holiday, I suppose you could call it that. Actually, it falls on the autumnal equinox, which is today, interestingly enough. It's called Houseblot, or Fall Feast. It's comparable to Thanksgiving, I suppose, if you'd want to make that assumption. It honours the second harvest of the season and is the time to gather food for the upcoming winter months. It's also a time to reflect upon what has been achieved during the most fruitful part of the year and be thankful for what the earth has given us. Not earth as in Midgard, earth as in the actual ground. Feasting and dancing, as most festivals go, but these were more subdued, I suppose, considering that Yule is a larger, more significant celebration and wasn't long from Houseblot. There would be one grand fire ablaze, and everywhere else all fires were extinguished. Then each family would solemnly light their hearth from the common flame, bonding the people together. I do not have many fond memories, but there are some, and I do find myself returning to those from the Fall Feast most often. I suppose these rituals offer you the same comforts, do they not? shouldn't make a mockery of the things that bring you joy, even if I myself don't quite understand them. As a god, it's sometimes hard to remember that you are human, my dear, and that you haven't lived the vast ages that I have. You have not become jaded over things like this. I suppose I hadn't really thought of it that way. There never seemed a chance for me to be able to escape the celebrations I hated with any efficiency, and was treated more like a joke than a prince, even though I was required to be there, considering my stature. Perhaps I can retain the traditions that brought me joy in a space of my own, where I am not duty-bound to do so, and I don't have to spend it with those I don't care much for. Oh, nothing. You never cease to amaze and impress me, my dear. You take the time to put an old god in his place, and offer wisdom of one who is beyond your years. Would you do a god a favour, and explain again why you enjoy the things that you do? I promise to try to see it with less bitter eyes this time, at least. Oh, I only promise to try. I cannot guarantee that it will be successful. If that is your wish to combine our celebrations and create a totally unique one of our own, I will not stop you. In fact, that sounds... I don't know if I can come up with a more apt word other than nice. It sounds nice. Also, allow me to thank you for your unlimited patience with me. It is far more than most would allow me. I must admit, there is a twinge of excitement within me that I don't believe I've felt for quite some time. I have you to thank for that as well. So I say once more, thank you. It's Hausblot, and happy Hausblot to you as well, my dear. And we'll work on your pronunciation.